Why do you think we named it Man Rub?
It's a good question. We'll get the answer to that in just a few minutes.
We've got a show today. What a week of shows. Sir Mix-a-Lot, Butterscotch, Genevieve Bien-Ami. I always say it wrong. We have I say Bon-Ami like his good and like instead of Bien the other good.
D.W. McKinney.
D.W. McKinney. We get just a show after show. Jeremiah and Tim. And look at this. Now we have Tommy Tallarico, well known for Video Games Live, but the CEO of Intellivision. Did anyone play Intellivision back in the day? John Harrison did. John Harrison played one for sure. John wrote a whole book on business and video games. And then we have Myke and maybe Aaron from Man Rub Spices.
We had Aaron from Man Rub Spices up until about 3 minutes ago when he went to close out an app and went away by accident. But he will be back by the time we're finished talking with Tommy. I know.
That's our plan anyway. I mean, what can we say about Man Rub Spices that has been said? Backpack show. That ended too well.
I got it in that time.
I thought you were going to say more words. I was ready to jump.
I've learned my lesson. I've learned that when you ask me a question, you don't actually want to know the answer.
That's Diane Brogan. That makes me wonder if Steve Brogan is also watching, because he, in the 80s, is when I thrashed my dad's butt on Intellivision baseball up in Montreal at a relative's.
Well, that's very ungracious to talk about, I must say.
Yeah. Well,
Bon means something. Bien-ami means well-loved, and bon-ami means good friend. See, to me, that's the same thing. I love my good friends. Oh, your dad is here. He just heard you burn him.
Tomato Amico controller.
You know what would make you feel better whilst being burnt is some Man Rub Spice.
Yes, that'll help with the burning. Oh my gosh. We have to bring Tommy Tallarico up because there's just so much to cover.
Geeking out so hard. Yes, I agree.
Gosh. It's a whole week of geeky. Hey, Tommy Tallarico. Welcome on board.
Hello, Gary and Chris.
Hello.
I heard you talking about playing your dad in Major League Baseball.
That was
Do you remember?
fun.
You and your dad's watching now as well.
He is. He's in.
Okay.
Vegas.
Well, I this is for both of you guys. I'm sure you remember this. You're out. There you go. That's all I have to. That was the very first video game to ever have voice in it. That was it, number one. And that was also the very first video game. It came out in 1979 that had a major sports license, a professional sports license attached to it. So before EA Sports and before all that stuff, the very first sports license in the video game world, Major League Baseball and Intellivision. And 40 years later, we announced earlier this year that Intellivision and Major League Baseball are back together once again. So we're working on the update, the retro reimagined version of that baseball game that you and your dad used to play when you were a kid. Now, did your dad kick your butt or did he let you win?
Now, that's a really good question because he perhaps was doing that dad thing that sometimes is done where, it's but man, figuring out how to steal bases, the old video games had always these weird cheeses that you could do to get around it all. So it's just funny. Now, I don't know you before Video Games Live. So Coach Scott Woodard is here as one of our guests. And one thing that Coach always asks is kind of like, what's level one or what's the opening screen of Tommy Tallarico's life? What were you doing and how did you get here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, on the east coast of the U.S., and I'm the oldest son of a 100% Italian family. All four of my grandparents came off the boat, as they say, in right before World War I, and so my whole life I always wanted to be in music or entertainment or video games. My two greatest loves growing up were video games and music. So when I turned 21, I literally left my parents and younger brother and sister crying on the doorstep. I got in my little 2-seater car with no money, no job, no friends. And I just drove to California I didn't know anyone out there. I didn't have any friends out there. I didn't have a job out here. I went by myself. I just traveled all across the US, and I was homeless. I was literally sleeping under a pier at Huntington Beach. I'm figuring like, hey, if you're going to be homeless, you might as well have beachfront property. The people on the cliff there are paying 20 mil. But the first day I got to California, I picked up a job, and picked up a newspaper, and I saw a job for selling keyboards at Guitar Center. And I'm like, I can BS my way into that job. And I started the next day, and I had 3 t-shirts with me. And one of the t-shirts was a TurboGrafx 16 t-shirt, which was this Japanese video game console that hadn't even come out in America yet. And I was so into video games that I had, acquired this shirt because I was part of a play test group where they were doing some, they wanted to find out, is this a good system to come out in America? And what do you like about it? They're doing some focus.
You're a nerd like us. This is great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so I wore that shirt the very first day, and the very first person who walked in happened to work for Richard Branson, and they were starting a Virgin video game company right down the street. And he saw my TurboGrafx 16 t-shirt, and he's like, how did you get that shirt? Because again, this is like the late 80s, early 90s. And so there weren't video game t-shirts all over the place like there is now. There was no Hot Topic or online, or, they just didn't exist. So it was like a unicorn. And this guy was like, what the heck? And so he offered me a job right on the spot as a game tester. And so I was in California 3 days, and I was in the video game industry. So I started doing game testing, but then within a couple months, I would always bug the vice president of the company. I said, please let me do audio and music, and I won't charge it. Like, I'll do it for free. Just give me the opportunity. And within a couple months, we were working on the original Prince of Persia with Jordan Mechner. And we were working on a port of that game. And so they let me do the sound and music, and it ended up winning an award. And so they said, okay, well, we're going to make you the music guy now. So I stayed at Virgin for 4 years as the director of audio. And then I started my own company in the early 90s. And around that same time, I also joined a television show called The Electric Playground. One of the producer and creator of the show interviewed me at the very first E3 show in 1994.
Wow.
And we had such a good camera rapport. He says, you know what, do you want to be the host of the show? I'm like, well, sure, why not? And
I know what that's like, Tommy.
Right? Oh, is that what happened to you? They just roped you in. And I mean, the show went on to win a Telly Award and Emmy Awards, and we were on there for 12. I did the show for 12 years, and we had a second TV show that we branched off called Reviews on the Run. That was called in Canada. In the US, it was called Judgment Day. So we had 2 half-hour TV shows that we were doing once a week for a year. So we were doing 104 episodes a year, and I was writing and co-producing, and while I was still working on all of the video games. So some of the video games I've worked on, it's funny, in fact, I own the Guinness Book of World Record for the person who's worked on the most video games in their lifetime. My mother's very proud.
Wow.
And it's over 350 games. And so some of the ones that people might be familiar with, the early Madden football games, Earthworm Jim, Disney's Aladdin, Terminator. In the mid 90s, I was on the original Tony Hawk Pro Skater team, a Guitar Hero franchise. I was one of the first Americans, I think, to ever be hired by Sega to work on the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Wow. I worked with Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and Zelda. Worked with him for 5 years on Metroid Prime. So yeah, long Spider-Man, James Bond, Pac-Man franchises.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of stuff. And then, of course, while I was doing the TV show and my music and audio career, then I started Video Games Live, which I started.
Pause right there, because pause the Video Games Live, because I want to show a little bitty clip.
Hold on. First, your dad says that you won fair and square. Chris,
okay, that's good. There you go. There you go.
What's he going to say? He's such a lovely person. I'm sure
can't say it. All right, listen for just a tiny clip. Dear YouTube gods, please don't strike me down. Hang on.
Oh, that was from our PBS special. Yeah, that was with the Louisiana Symphony, and that was right after my steampunk sniper rifle guitar.
It's the best. So
but yeah, that was in 2010. That was part of our PBS special that went to 90 million households in America. That was a big turning point, I think, for video game music in the game industry. You know, because we brought it into everybody's living room, and parents who never played a video game or were watching the show going, wow, this is video games. They're so powerful, and the music is emotional, and the characters and the graphics and the storyline. I get it now. I know why my kids are so much into video games. And that was a big moment.
You get a lot of that, and you produced a bunch of those albums. I don't know if it's still considered an ongoing property for you, but it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, COVID slowed us down, but we had done, I think, 4 shows before COVID this year, and then we're starting up again in January. But I've had to slow it. Like I used to do 40, 50 shows a year all over the world. But then when I became CEO and president of Intellivision, I just do one a month now on the weekend. So, but it's kind of fun. I leave on a Friday night, rehearse on Saturday, show Saturday night. I'm back home on Sunday. But yeah, it's still going on. Videogameslive.com for anyone interested.
So now you have this Intellivision Amico coming out, in which you've got some reimagined gameplay, and it's an interesting market. The console wars are out there. Everyone's explaining what the new PlayStation 5 price is versus the Xbox and all that. And Nintendo kind of dodged that in so many ways by just being super fun to play. What's the positioning? What does Intellivision and the Intellivision Amico? How do you get into that, and who do you compete with, or who don't you?
Exactly. So we don't compete with any of the top 3, the Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo, because our whole, I saw this huge gaping hole in the game industry, which is all of the home consoles. They're expensive. They're very complex and complicated. A lot of the games, there's a lot of violence and bad language and sexual content in a lot of the top selling games. But one of the biggest things is they're very solitary as well. And even when you think about mobile gaming, which is now completely taken over the video game market, the video game industry is a $152 billion a year industry. 55% of that money comes from the mobile industry. 25% of that comes from the home consoles, the big 3, and then the 20% of that is for the hardcore PC gaming world, right? So you can see how important mobile games, which we will classify as hyper casual games, right? So there's 200 million hardcore gamers in the world. So that's if you add up all the PlayStation, Microsoft, Nintendo, and the PC players, there's 200 million hardcore gamers. Yet there's 3.1 billion people that play mobile video games, not that own a mobile phone, but that play mobile games every day. So that means that only less than 7% of the people who are playing video games in the world are playing on a home console. So then you dive into that data and you say, well, why is that? Is it just the convenience that everybody has it in their pocket and it's easy to just, pull out and play? Or is it maybe because it's free? And it's really not free. The average person who plays, so remember, there's 3 billion people. The average, it fluctuates, but it's typically around $90 a year. The average person spends on their mobile phone playing video games. So it's not because it's free either. And the reasons why the average person doesn't play on game consoles are all the reasons which I'm about to talk about.
Because my kids won't get off.
It's a solitary device. Parents have to worry about their kids. There's a lot of online predators. There's, and kind of toxic communities. It is expensive. If you want to play a 4-player game on something like, even like a PlayStation, well, you have to buy 3 more controllers. You have to get, there's all these different, and the complexity as well. That's probably the biggest thing. If you put a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox controller in my dad or mom's hands, it's a non-starter. Dual analog sticks and all the buttons and this and that. So that's why I created Intellivision Amico. Amico is the Italian word for friend, by the way.
Thanks, we're Irish.
There you go. Well, Italian and Irish, we're always together.
There.
That's why I grew up on the East Coast. You were either Italian, Irish, or Polish. That's or Puerto Rican. That was the entire community of Massachusetts and New York.
Hey, Tommy, can you hold up the new controller? By the way, you have one of the controllers.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, this is the original. This is the original one.
I remember.
Right? And then here's the new one. So this controller here, it's pretty amazing. First of all, there's buttons on the top and bottom as well. So, and all of the buttons light up as well as the disc itself. So there's LED lights.
Wow.
This is a color. This is a color touch screen. It has a speaker, a microphone, force feedback, wireless contact charging, right there. So you just put it back in the pod. Here's I got a purple one here.
Oh, nice.
We have purple, red. You can see a red one up in the corner,
yeah.
Up in the corner there.
That's nice.
But there's a black and a white version as well. But yeah, so when you're done, you just put it in the thing and it charges it. It comes with 2 of these as well, but it also has a gyroscope and an accelerometer as well. So you can kind of see the ball moving around there, and that's why you see the strap. And you can hold it any way you want. If you're a lefty and you want it on this side, or a righty, or you want to hold it the original Intellivision, or you want to use it, and we have a bunch of simple, easy, affordable games. Everything from cornhole to bowling. So you can use it like that as a motion control, like the Wii did. Again, the color, it's a capacitive touch screen. And this whole thing is polycarbonate. So I can I
was going to ask that question. I have friends who throw their controllers when they're upset.
They rage.
I've never done that.
Yep.
So.
And this is a 64 position controller. So as soon as you push it down and it spins, right? It's a control like the original Intellivision. And it even has the harder you press, you can see it, kind of coming in like that. And so the 4 cornerstones of the company are simple, affordable, family, entertainment. And that spells out the word safe, because none of our games have violence, bad language, sexual content. Everything is family friendly. Every one of our games has single player, but every one of our games also has couch co-op as well. Either a versus mode or a cooperative mode. But here's the biggest thing that everybody, their barrier to entry was always that, it's like, I can't play my kids because they're so much better than me. And it's not fun getting beat all the time. So we've designed every single game that no matter what your skill level is, you can compete on the same level as everyone else. And that is so important. And we don't have complicated 3D games. We don't have online gaming where you have to wear a headset. We don't allow any of that stuff. It's all about simple, affordable family entertainment. All the games are $9.99 or less. There's no microtransactions, no in-app advertising, no loot boxes, no in-app purchases. One time you buy it, it's done. Yours forever.
Tommy, I have a question.
I wish you were I wish you knew how to sell.
But wait, there's more. No, I can.
Johnny,
one last thing.
No.
Not only does it come with
question.
two controllers, not only does it come with two controllers, which is the first video game machine in 30 years to come with two separate controllers like this. Not only that, but you can download our free app. This is my mobile phone, and you can connect up to 8 more mobile devices or a total of 8.
So the whole family can play the way that John was saying. John was saying he wants
party
a game,
games, board games,
that everyone
card
can
games,
play together.
sports games. We got it all. Go ahead.
Now,
sorry. Yes.
John wants to know, what is a life lesson you think people can learn from video games? And I feel like I should point out that you wrote a whole book about video games and business. So John, if you haven't read the book, definitely check it out. Chris, your mom is not helping. And please go ahead and answer John's question. What is one life lesson people can learn from video games?
From playing video games? I think there's a couple. So for younger people, for kids, let's say 7 and under, there's been a ton of research out there that shows that, playing games at an early age, like your cognitive skills, your reflex ability, your being able to work out problems and things like that, using your mind to work out things. There's a lot of research that's been done on that. But on the opposite side of that spectrum, there's this amazing research paper that came out about 2 years ago. As the baby boomer generation starts to, become seniors, right? One of the worst, health issues is like cognitive, degeneration, Parkinson's and dementia and all these things. Well, there was a great study that came out that said that people who play with those, who are starting to, get those kind of health issues, playing video games every day, because your brain is a muscle, right? And it needs to be, it was slowing those diseases by 30%.
Wow.
So even in early ages, it helps your development, but in the older stages of your life, it also helps to keep the brain sharp. But
neurons firing, sure.
But yeah, exactly right. But in the case of Intellivision Amico, we actually even go a step beyond and say, what's great about video games and about our console specifically? See, when you play a PlayStation, Xbox, and some of the other ones, a lot of times you're playing, in a dark room with your headphones on, right? And the older we get, the more guilty we start to feel because, the wife and the kids, and the wife wants to go out to dinner and the kid and the dog wants to go for a walk. You can't just lock yourself in your man cave for 6 hours playing Call of Duty or Red Dead Redemption.
And yet, Tommy,
some people do.
Yeah, but you can't do that and not feel guilty. People, older people do it all the time, but you have that kind of guilt associated. What we're offering is time with your friends and family. That's what we're selling, right? And everybody wishes they could have. Our motto is Intellivision, together again. Now, that's a crappy motto to have during COVID, don't get me wrong, but we're sticking with it. We don't care. We're riding out the storm. It's actually great
because this is the way you can be together during COVID. It is for some people the only way. So I think it's great.
This is the way. Tommy Tallarico, I'm sure people have said before that you really don't have enough energy. I think people have said that, really.
It's that Italian passion. I
love it so much.
I get going. I can't stop myself. I apologize.
I love it.
It's all
Everybody
good.
loved it.
Everybody's jazzed up. So, Joanne says, I love this business model. My mom, $10 is awesome. Glad you're, it's just a big deal.
But wait, there's more. Yeah, Carol knows.
Exactly. All right. So, Tommy, if you can stick around, hang on, we got to do a little bit of sponsor love. We're going to talk to some spice makers and we'll get right back. Thank you so much for your time today. Wow.
Please don't leave.
Energy. Don't anybody go anywhere, Tommy, especially.
Well, so that energy is the difference between somebody who stays sleeping on the beach, drinking a 6-pack a night, and somebody who goes on to work on like 300 something video games.
300 something. That is insanity.
And write a book and do concerts and relaunch a beloved video game brand that was defunct or at least dormant. So that's the difference. A lot of other people are still sleeping on that beach.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, listen, if you want to make a show as exciting and energetic as Tommy Tallarico, well, we can't do that. You have to bring Tommy, but you can build the show on StreamYard. cbrogan.me/StreamYard gets you right in there. They are one of our primary sponsors. They came in first and foremost and said, look, we like what you're doing. But that doesn't mean they're not going to like what you're doing. So make your own damn show. Go to cbrogan.me/StreamYard and do that. So if you're an author like our friend John, who came here and asked Tommy his question, John could have a site on a place like PubSite, pub-site.com. What does this site do for people, Carrie?
If you have a book, you're an author, but you don't know how to build a website to promote it, they can help you build a website. So it's actually a service you can use to build a website yourself. It's really, really easy to do. If you absolutely don't want to touch that stuff, they can build it for you. So there's a 2-week free trial for you to check it out, pub-site.com. After that, it's just $19.99 a month, which is obscenely cheap because it's powered by the PR firm that handles the top authors from all over the country. They've been doing it for 25 years. They know about book promotion and publicity. So they know what you need on your site. So pub-site.com.
I will point out, just for detail, you could buy your pub-site website, or you could buy 2 video games on Intellivision Amico.
Stop it.
All right. They're also sponsored later in the day for Person of the Day. So get ready to see who
We don't know who that's going to be yet.
Very important Apple. We have to think on that
We
one.
don't know who that is yet.
But look at that. We have 2 sponsors and 2 guests sitting side by side because Aaron broke something.
That's funny.
And we're bringing them right out.
This is the low-tech solution to a tech problem, everybody. Myke did not have a tech problem, and Aaron did. But as it turned out, they were in the same location. So the headquarters for Man Rub Spice Company. So we were like, just get yourself over to Aaron's seat, Myke, and we'll fix this whole thing.
We'll figure it out. And here we are. Look, it works. Gentlemen, how are you? Oh, they're on mute because you're being good guys.
Oh, Myke and Aaron. You're like,
yeah, I know, right? Hey, we're just like business partners. I'm just going to say that. We'll start that off.
Exactly.
Well,
we are sitting close to each other.
Well,
eventually he's going to start sliding over, and I'll be off the screen here soon.
Exactly.
Just saying, you do you, Man Rubs.
Man Rub Spices. Now, one has to presume that you had some kind of normal, boring, grown-up job before you did this. So, what happened that dragged you all the way over into deciding you're going to make and sell several hundred pounds of delicious rubs?
You know, it started years ago. I mean, I was cooking at a barbecue and I had made my own rubs, and you know, somebody's like, "Hey, this is great. You should do this for a living." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll call it Man Rub. You know, we put meat in your mouth," because I have that kind of humor, right? And it started out as a joke, and here I am years later, and you know, Aaron and I were friends. We met through, you know, coaching football and fun stuff like that, and we got together, started talking about it, and it was like a marriage, just quick.
It was amazing.
Chris, how did you discover Man Rubs?
You know, as basic and easy as I tweeted, "Hey, who knows someone with an interesting company?" And they gave me these guys. So I said, you know, that's interesting. And then I went and I looked at your website and all that, and I was immediately intrigued by some of your ads.
Sounds about right.
It's all about product placement, right? I mean,
how has that been going, and how has that been going in this society, this time, this culture? How do people react to your fine, spicy product?
You know, it started out a bit rocky because we started this back in January, February, then obviously COVID hit. So trying to go through those, like the co-packing channels and that type, you know, with things being closed, that was a little rough. But I think it's been received pretty well. I mean, I think right now humor is something that the world needs.
They need it in Scotland.
Yeah, with all the everything going on that's just so rough, it's nice to laugh about things and not take things so serious. So people love the labels. We get a lot of comments. The rub is really good. And then I think that's the biggest part, is that not only do we have a brand, but we have, you know, great tasting rubs. So I think that combination with, I mean, once you start to learn our personalities and things like that, it starts to come out.
Do you guys model in any of these, or like keep scrolling?
Well, that's me in the red bikini.
Nice. How do you get that butt up so high? I feel like that's a skill you should put on LinkedIn.
A lot of squats.
Yeah, exactly. Pilates.
So I see beef, I see chicken. I'm presuming there's a pork spice in the family as well. How many spices do we have right now?
We currently are carrying 6 right now. So we have a beef, a chicken, both a pork rub and a pork rib rub, and then an all-purpose and a jalapeno whip.
Oh, okay. So those last 2, is that what ends up on my eggs in the morning, which I just saw in one of the
Absolutely. Graphics? Vegetables, you name it, tofu, it can do. I mean, obviously we're in California, so there's definitely tofu and fish and veggies and
French fries, vegan burgers, and actually I use the jalapeno whip on my eggs in the morning, or the all-purpose, which is a garlic, salt, pepper combination, and it's a nice touch to really anything. It's all vegan friendly, no MSG, made right here in the United States. It's all American product.
Do you do your own taste testing?
Yeah, these are all created by us. It's
do you make your family eat it? You're like, eat it and you will like it.
Yeah, you will eat this, or you're grounded.
If you want lunch money, you're gonna come back over here and make sure
no video games.
Yeah, right. And now we figured out that video games are good for him, so we have to make sure that he,
right,
and inexpensive as well, quite affordable.
Actually, from what Tommy was saying, they could be good for you too, like keep your brain active.
Yeah, you don't want to get.
What a dynamic guy! I loved hearing him talk. That was awesome.
You'll get more. You'll get more.
Yeah. For sure.
Love it.
I have a bunch of questions, because when a friend says you should start a business, you should unfriend that friend. Like a friend says you should start a business, it is always a journey into hell. What did you not know when you decided you're going to do this for reals? Because there's like your kitchen rub, and then you're going to do a company that the FDA doesn't kill you. So how did that process? How fast was that learning curve for you?
Well, let me just take this one. So this whole thing started in the.
You don't have to leave.
I know he's letting his dog out. This whole thing started basically in a backyard over a barbecue. Myke had been barbecuing for a long time, and we were talking, and he said, "Hey, I got this idea for this company, and who doesn't love barbecue? I mean, barbecue is it's like almost an all-American sport. Nobody ever stands around a barbecue and says, "Oh, life sucks. I hate this. It's horrible." It's all about family, friends, gatherings. It's just everybody looks forward to going to a barbecue, I think. So in starting this whole process, it was basically just formed around he and I sitting in my backyard over a barbecue, and him pitching the idea to me. And then we said, okay, I said, okay, let's try it. Let's work it out. As far as the obstacles, I had no idea how much was involved in producing a product, one that is edible, and actually putting a combination of marketing together. We kind of have a niche market a little bit. If you guys remember the big Johnson t-shirts of the late 80s and early 90s, where it's very tongue-in-cheek. Our brand is meant to be humorous. It's not meant to be disrespectful at all. It's just us having a good time, 2 guys having a good time. And so I think, to answer your question, all the dynamics that are involved in incorporating and getting your trademark done, UPC codes, finding out who's going to make the labels, finding the co-packers, shipping and logistics involved with that. There's a ton of things that you have to get involved with, and it's almost a full-time job if you really take it seriously. So I appreciate that challenge now, as far as what other people have done to get their brands out in the market. It's not overwhelming, but it certainly is a challenge, I think.
It's definitely been fun too. I mean, like you said, the learning curve has been a little way more than what we thought, especially when we are talking about UPC codes and even like what you can and can't do, and especially with a food-based product where it's going out to the public, trying to make sure that everything is safe, right? Because I think above and beyond, Aaron and I are both parents, right? So the last thing we want is anybody to get sick or anything like that. So we wanted to make sure that everything is completely safe, making sure the facilities are safe, and then trying to be as healthy as possible, even with as far as like no MSG, low salt, and that nature.
Was there ever a time at which one of your significant others or something was like, this spice thing is taking over our lives? Like Fisher cut bait on it as a whole business because I'm not doing this like job and a half thing.
Not really. I think we've had some great support from everyone, not only our families, but friends as well. I think the big thing, and I've brought up before, like Aaron and I are both fathers of young men. And I think that, we are those type of dads that, tell our boys to go out there and really attain their dreams. And I think it'd be hypocritical to not go after something that I've been talking around and Aaron and I have been talking about for a long time. It's like, so we have to show them that if there's something you really want, you got to work hard to get it. And that is sometimes where Go ahead.
One of my favorite things about doing the backpack show is the community we serve. And Carol is here and she wants to know if this is your full-time job now or if you still do something else as well. Is it all spice all the time?
Yeah, I wish. It's working towards that. We barely launched our product not even 60 days ago.
Wow.
So things are going well. It would have launched months ago, but obviously with COVID and packing and shipping and just trying to make sure that everyone was safe. There was about 90 days of dormancy, but that's the plan.
I feel like a lot more people probably are barbecuing and smoking it at home now. So need an extra variety.
Yeah. So for me, I have a full-time job, but I'm actually retiring in about 60 days to kind of take this on as a semi-retired job to go out there. Be
careful. Do not go for the last big score. I've seen this movie. It doesn't end well. Like I'm retiring.
I actually have 29 years in the job that I'm retiring from. So
that's how it always is. Lethal Weapon.
And then they put you on one last job. And,
yep. Do it.
Speaking of danger, by the way, that's butter.
Oh, it is.
7 pounds of butter.
Yes.
How much?
7 pounds.
7 pounds of butter. That's Absolutely. A thing of intensity. That is an intensity. What is that product?
That is that's heart attack chicken right there. So underneath that 7 pounds of butter is a whole fryer chicken.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What's going to happen to it?
So the butter encapsulates the chicken and basically wet ages the chicken over the course of a couple of days. So as you cook it, that's why it's lifted up on a rack. As you cook it, that butter will melt down. And actually it doesn't really taste a lot like butter, but the chicken is super moist and it's fun.
That is a visual. That is
fun until the heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to talk to your doctor about what you've eaten, because
don't ask your doctor. Yeah. Never ask your doctor about barbecue.
If your arm starts tingling, don't wait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I will tell you, since we got into this barbecuing and now I barbecue probably 2 or 3 times a week. I put on about 15 pounds, I imagine. Part of that is because of COVID and the gyms are closed, but definitely I'm going to start getting into more of the healthy foods that you can barbecue, the vegetables and things like that.
Sure.
The non-meat products, there's a lot
You're
of
going to be like, take this piece of salmon and put it underneath 1.5 pounds of butter.
Right. Actually, I made salmon the other day, and it was really tasty with a couple of capers and some of the all-purpose on there, and it was fantastic. But it is a challenge. What do they say? Never trust a skinny cook or skinny chef.
That is right.
So, you have to try your products, and there's definitely a healthy side to barbecuing, which is something we're going to start getting into. But a lot of I think a greater amount of America barbecues on the weekends or as a pastime or to celebrate a function. So we also wanted to feature a lot of those fun recipes that people are like, wow, they're not just delicious to eat, but they're fun to cook as well. And so that's why we have a recipe page on our website.
How much rubbing is actually involved? Like, do you sprinkle it or do you really get in there?
Well, it's a rub, right? So it's a coating process, right?
Well, I know. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely a kind of a way to do it. You want to, depending on what you're cooking, right? If you're cooking a salmon, you're going to do a light dusting, and then you don't really rub anything into it.
Just show me on Aaron, like get in that shoulder.
Go ahead, right here.
Yeah, but he likes it way too much when I do this.
All right, listen, children.
This is a show I'm here for.
Listen, here's the alchemy that we need to bring the show back to everything. Tommy Tallarico is back with us again. We have a panel now, we have video games, and we have spices, and we have crazy swag. Here's a question. You both kind of invent and create the business that you want to create. Was there ever a question in your mind? Did you ever think, I think I'm going to have to go take a cubicle job somewhere? Or how did you get to where you got to? Tommy first.
I'm a big believer in The Secret. If you've ever seen that documentary or read the book, I'd recommend everybody checking it out. I have vision boards. If you can think it, then you can achieve it. And I look at goals as, it's all about networking. That's one thing. Having, networking ability is great. But the other thing is you have to have the confidence in yourself to know that you're going to get to the top of the mountain. I view every goal as like a mountain, right? And when you start on that journey, you don't know exactly how you're going to get up there. You just know that you're going to be on the top. You might not know when, and there's going to be wind that's going to try to knock you down, and you're going to have rain, and you're going to have people tugging at your feet to pull you down. You're going to have rocks coming. And you just got to keep going. You just got to know, you have to have confidence in yourself. You can do anything you really put your mind to. And especially during the COVID stuff, and I'm listening to Myke and Aaron, and although they seem like two completely different things, there's also so many things that are in common as well. They were talking about, hey, it's about family and friends getting together. There was a common theme, right there. And it's about their love and their passion and family. And so, and I'm sure during COVID, like they experienced things, we experienced things, we had to delay the console to April, but it doesn't matter. You know what? Throw a worldwide pandemic at us. Fine. Throw riots. Sure. We're in California. Fires. What do you got next? Murder hornets. Great. Bring them on. And so it doesn't matter how much more locust, bring in the locust. It doesn't matter. We're going to make it to that top of the mountain, and no one and nothing is going to stop us. And when you believe in yourself that much, nothing can take you down,
Myke and Aaron, what do you got?
I think, like Tommy, we started this process before COVID, before things the clock moved backwards as far as businesses and people out of work, people out of jobs. So he and I pretty much said, this is a passion that we believe in. People, like Tommy was saying, people love to join together as a family or as a unit, or even entertain more from their homes. And so we saw that more as an opportunity. Anytime there's negatives out there or a crisis, it's also a time to grow, not only as a person, but also as a company. And so he and I prepared for that. And, we just kind of bear down and move forward. Myke, what do you think?
It was definitely a challenge, but I don't know anybody, and you listen to anybody who's ever started a business, or big or small, and there's always a challenge in front of them. Now, maybe not a nation or worldwide pandemic, but we look at it as like, why not? Okay, we could either, pull up our tents and be like, we're done, or fight through it. And like I said, we're planning for bigger things, and we got to push through it.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're at the next part of the show, which is the backpack question. And the question is basically, in this world, everything is kind of upside down. We're not really building on solid ground. We're only building on shifting sands. You've got to be able to put something in your backpack so that you can move yourself forward and take care of yourself. That poor doggy needed to come back in. So the question is either real world or metaphorically, what goes in your backpack? And you can only answer one thing. This is a Twitter-sized answer. I'm looking at you, Tommy Tallarico. What goes in your backpack?
I'm Italian. You're not going to get
that. I've heard that once before.
I'll do a lot of this too. No.
The people who have said things like empathy, people have said things like stick-to-itiveness, humility. I'm trying to think of some of the others. And then sometimes an avocado.
So am I lost? Am I lost in
you're just
wilderness?
Your operating instructions for the next 5 years. You've got to throw one thing to these people that they could consider adding to their own personal backpack for their business success.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say a GPS. If I'm lost, I mean, confidence, resilience. You know, everybody in the world has a dream, but the difference between the dreamers and the people who accomplish it is they never give up, you know? And the ability to network and believe in yourself. So for me, if it was a physical thing, I'd bring Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and The Secret, those two books. And so that on their journey, they can read and figure it out.
You're lucky that Myke and Aaron don't have to share one answer, so you could both put one thing that goes in the backpack.
Well, they're each going to pick one kind of man rub, I'm guessing.
Hope not.
I would say for me, passion.
Yeah.
Everybody has passion for.
Not like Tommy has passion.
Right. I love Tommy's passion.
Put that in a spice.
And he has great hair. Look at that hair. I was looking at that hair and I'm like, wow, I'm glad I'm wearing a hat right now.
Right. I'll have to get his picture and put it back there with my Triple H.
Yeah. So for me, it's passion. I think if you have passion for what you do, if you have passion for something that you believe in, and you hold that strong to your heart, it will always guide you no matter what the circumstances are. And I think some of the greatest success stories in the world relate directly back to someone's passion for what they do and what they believe and their accomplishment.
Take it. I think that is an absolutely worthwhile answer. So we have to go to our person of the day on the way out the door. Our person of the day for today's fine experience is our friend Coach Scott Woodard up here in Maine. Video games were the great equalizer for my nerdy son with his jock friends. That got us there. He had that great origin story comment as well. I think that there's a moment now that you can go out, Coach, and find an apple just like that one for absolutely whatever it costs to buy it at the grocery store.
Rub it with some spices.
Some spices, and you will be all handled. Listen, gentlemen, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show, because this is how everybody learns, right? That's how it gets done.
Chris, did your grandmother ever use spices?
I'm getting me some. I'm going on the mainrub.com and getting me some spices. I'm vegan too, so it was great to hear you guys.
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely.
Imagine that, an Italian who's vegan. What the hell happened? My mother cries when I tell her, but it's trying to do the right thing. But
my mom would be like, "What the hell's a vegan?"
Well, I got to tell
you.
Thank goodness that veganism wasn't a thing when my grandmother was around, because my grandmother would have made a whole different experience out of that.